Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. My name is Brian, and I'm here with Danny English and also with IELTS headquarters. Today, we will be talking about planning your Part 2 speech. Um, Make sure that you chat, make sure that you follow, all that good stuff. We are trying out some new formats, so hopefully in the future you'll be able to start seeing your name and comments popping up on here. For the people who aren't here yet, we are recording this so you can watch it later, but you won't be able to ask your questions. If you ever have any questions, feel free to go ahead and message us directly. That being said, let's go ahead and move forward. As you can see, we also have um, some details here. If you just mention this live stream, we do have a discount for you guys who are here right now. And if you have any other questions, you can go ahead and just pop them in the chat. I'll be looking at that throughout the stream to be able to help you for anything that is going on. Because again, we are on lockdown here in Vietnam, so we want to be able to help you um, achieve your band goals, even if you are stuck at home. So, um, so let's go ahead. We're going to learn a bunch of stuff. So as you can see, we just want to let you know that Danny English Center is partnering up with IELTS Prep Headquarters. We are trying to bring you the best, the newest, the most up-to-date information to help you pass your IELTS exams. So if you ever have any questions or you have some feedback about new questions or new tactics, feel free to let us know. We are all ears and we love to hear that type of stuff. So let's see here. What are we going to learn today? So at the end of this workshop, we are going to be able to do about 4 things, if not more. So you will be able to um, learn 2 planning strategies, 2 speaking strategies, some linking language, and how to clearly introduce the topic. Some of these things you guys already may know if you guys are have taken the IELTS before, but you can also take something away from this. Okay, so so first, what is the difference between a planning and speaking strategy? So the thing that you need to know about these 2 things is you can go in with a plan. All right, the IELTS, it hasn't really changed. The band scores are still the same. You know, an 8, a 9 never changes. It's for native speakers. 8, you're highly fluent. You're able to pass. You're coherent, etc., etc. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So, if we already know what the scale is, and we already know what they're looking for, we can plan. This can be for your listening. This can be for your speaking. This can be for your reading, and also your writing. They don't change. So we're going to go through how you can plan and get into these ideas of how you can plan ahead, and therefore you can just change your information so that you can get a great score. Speaking strategies. So now this is, since you already have your plan, but how do you communicate that? So we're going to go through a few different ways that you can communicate and how you can continue to communicate if you have nothing to say or if you don't know the topic. Let's say you're talking about space exploration. Ooh, do we know a lot of words about space exploration? If you guys know any, go ahead and just like kind of type them in. But it's really hard. Those are very academic, very scientific words, right? Planetarium, shifting beyond, uh, quasars and quarks. These are huge, interesting words and phrases and vocabulary, but are they going to get you a band 8, band 7? No, but we can strategize and how we can use these information, how we can use that information. Right? Linking language. This is again another thing where you need to combine your ideas, right? Coherency, right? It's a way for you to, for the listener, to guide the listener how to do it. And finally, clearly introduce the topic. This is one of the biggest things that I've seen with my current students and with other students, right? What you need to learn is how to clearly introduce the topic. It sounds really boring and really dumb, but ultimately, you just need to tell us the answer. We're asking you the question. As an IELTS examiner, we ask you a question because we want to know the answer. So if I ask you, what's your name? And then you say, I'm doing fine, that's not what we're looking for, right? We want to be able for you to know how to introduce yourself. So when you introduce the topic clearly, especially for part two, this means that we get you comprehend the question, that you're able to coherently put something together, that you can paraphrase, so show your vocabulary, and that we can understand you, so your pronunciation is there too. So as you can see, if you can clearly introduce the topic, you're already doing great on getting a higher score for the IELTS. So let's go ahead and move on. All right. If you guys can go ahead and drop in some true or false, just a T or an F. If not, we'll just keep moving forward. But here you go. Um, True or false? This is about part two. So you can write on the cue card that they give you. True or false? It's true, right? So when you're given this piece of paper, it's there for you, right? You can write on it, you can draw a picture, you can do whatever you want with it, pretty much. All right. They will take it back from you. I've heard two things. People say that they look into the piece of paper and then they kind of change your score based on what you write there. But I don't believe that that is true. Because, for example, if you have a great comprehension and great vocabulary, you may not even need to write on your cue card. So therefore, even if you write nothing, they cannot take points away from you. Right? It's all about how you answer. Right? So this is true. Write on your cue card. Right? Just don't write anything bad. Usually, just because we want to be nice. All right. True or false? Number two. Part one and part two are the same topic. So part one for speaking and part two are the same topic. True or false? All right. Yes, this is actually false. All right. Part one is its own thing. It's about communication. It's about more personal talking, about being able to communicate with somebody on a personal level. This is why those questions are, what do you think of? How do you feel? What is your favorite? So usually part one is very is a more of um, a basic question set. Now it's a little extra credit. But do you know why that they ask you these part one questions? Okay, yeah, yeah, exactly. So the part one questions are there because the speaking is the same if you're taking the general or if you're taking the academic IELTS. So that's why it's going to be the same for part one. Usually, part one is there. So if you're taking the generic or you're not doing very well, it's there to kind of help you boost your score a little bit, so you don't feel bad about doing not great on the rest of the whole thing. Because let's just say you get um, a 6 overall for speaking, and it's because you did well across three different types of answering, right? But that's also why it's so hard to get an 8, because you need to do very well on everything, part one, part two, and part three. So again, IELTS doesn't change. Structure doesn't change. That's why we can plan on how to answer. I think we have two more true or false questions. You must be funny to get a band 8. True or false? Okay. Yeah. I mean, you don't have to be funny to get a band 8. It might help you feel comfortable and help you feel more at ease if you're telling a funny story or if you feel like you need to release the tension in the room. But you don't need to be funny. You can be very methodical. You can be, introduction, body, conclusion. Very simple, right? That's fine. You can still get a really good score. So that's why we're going to talk about planning. I think we have one more. We do have one more. Okay. You can talk over 2 minutes. They won't care. This is for part two. Hmm. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. So, yeah. So I'm seeing a little bit of this and that. So, basically, you can't. You cannot talk over 2 minutes. They will stop you right away. Okay. So when you see this, make sure that you're very clear, right? That's why we plan. That's why we practice. That's why you go to IELTS teachers. That's why you go to IELTS experts to help you practice and get more confident and be able to answer these questions with no issues. All right. Okay. So let's get into a little bit more about the workshop. This is what you should know already, right? You need to know how you are graded. What is the scale? What does it mean that you got a 4? What does it mean if you get an 8? You need to understand how you are graded. There are 4 criteria for speaking. All right. There's usually about 4 criteria for writing as well. So keep this in mind. And also, these 4 criteria are kind of even broken up as well, right? So, for example, um, uh, cohesion, right? Cohesion and comprehension. Those are two different things, but they are combined together into one. So this is not it's not the easiest or greatest way of being able to be like, oh, were you better with your comprehension? Were you better with your cohesion? You don't know, right? Um, with part one and part two for writing, it's about task, right? About how did you answer the task or task response, right? Did you answer the question? But it's also about task achievement in the other ones as well. So that being said, you need to know how you are graded. You need to start using transition words, which we'll talk about in a little bit, so that they know we're going on to the next part. They're talking about something. You need to be able to choose your idea quickly. You only have 1 minute to prepare your answer, right? You can't be thinking, ooh, should I talk about this or should I talk about that? Should I talk about this or talk about that, right? The examiner doesn't know you. They don't know your life. So just choose one that you feel very confident about. Go ahead and go from there. Make sure you understand your grammar, right? Simple, basic grammar structures, and we'll go over how you can use those in a couple different planning strategies. Confidence is key. I talked about this before, and we've talked about it in the past, but basically, if you feel confident but not overconfident, you'll do great, right? You've been practicing for hours, for years now about IELTS. This is your time to show that how well and how hard you've practiced, right? And at the end, even even though I know it costs money, you can take the test again. You actually have to take the test every 2 years about, right? To re-up your IELTS certificate. So don't be afraid. You can take the test again. All right. So not the end of the world. So here is a cue card. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. I'm going to go ahead and read a little bit about it, and then I'll hear what you guys have to say. Hi, Vin. Good to see you. Um, so cue card is describe an advertisement which you found very persuasive. You should say when you saw it, when and where. Oh, that should be when and where. Sorry about that. What was advertised, and what contents of the advertisement were, and explain how you felt about it. Yeah, nice to meet you too, Vin. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to go over how to actually talk about how you can set these things up. So this is our cue card. This is one from actually this year. All right. So if you join now and it's 2021 or 2021, you should be able to maybe think about how these new ones are phrased. Okay. All right. So true or false about this topic, right? Is this topic your personal opinion? Describe an advertisement which you have found very persuasive. Is this your personal opinion? True or false? Oh, thank you, Anya, for liking. Appreciate it. It's true. This is your personal opinion. It's about what advertisement you found that persuaded you. And to persuade something means for you to do it by somebody telling you or asking you or showing you. All right. And this is a way that you're able to talk about that. So remember, this is your personal opinion. So when we're talking about personal opinion, we can say a ton of different things, right? And we're going to go into those a little bit more on how you can answer them. But yeah, this is a personal opinion. Um, you must cover all the parts of the cue card. True or false? It's false. Yeah, it's actually false. You you do not have to cover everything that's in that cue card. All right? It's good for you to do things like that, right? The reason for you to be able to do that is that they prompt you. They're like, "Oh, you should do this, you should talk about that, all these things," right? But it's unnecessary to always talk about every part because sometimes it does not apply to your answer, right? So just make sure that you don't have to feel that it's necessary that you have to talk about every single thing here. Okay? So, um, use these as prompts for you to, if you're like stuck, you don't know how to talk about it or don't know how to prep yourself, which we're going to talk about anyways, then you're going to be able to just move forward. So don't worry about this, and we'll talk about that as well. All right. Okay. This is the last one. You should give a long answer for each part, or each part of the question, or each part of your speech. Should they be long? I'm seeing some yes, some no, mostly yeses. So actually, it's no. All right. So let's just say you have these four prompts, right? You don't even have, you haven't even described the advertisement, right? You just said when and where, what it was, and contents, right? So you really didn't even describe why it was persuasive. So if you talk about all these four prompts for a long time, that's 30 seconds each. And you still didn't even talk about this, and you only get 2 minutes. All right. So ultimately, what you want to do is you want to make bullet points about what is important and focus on what is important. Okay, last true or false. You should spend 30 seconds selecting your answer. We've already talked about this earlier, so most of you guys should get this right. Yeah, most of it's no. Right? You only have 1 minute to get ready, and if you spend half of it, 50% of your time, you will not be able to get a good score, most likely because you don't know exactly what you want to talk about. I mean, if you're already getting a 7.5 on your speaking, you can spend as much time as you really want on selecting your answer because you might be able to talk about it better or more in depth. So feel free to take more time. But if you are still just learning, wanting to learn how to plan your answer, you should just kind of go with your gut instinct and choose which one you want. All right. So don't spend too much time. So this if you're going to take anything away, take this away from there now. All right. Choose your answer and topic quickly. All right. That's what you just need to know. What is something? Look at the main point. Focus on that. All right. You should have a strategy ready. Right. We're going to talk about that right now. So you're going to have some strategies to be able to get used to or get be able to use. Finally, you need to learn how to adapt to fit the topic. Now, when I'm giving you these strategies, you can use them for almost anything, right? You can use them for any topic. So we're going to have to adapt them make sure that they fit the topic specifically, because sometimes it's more important to talk about the when instead of the what. Sometimes it's more important to focus on more of the why instead of the who, right? So you're gonna have to adapt. All right, and the last one is anecdotes. If you become one of my students, and this is what I tell my students, is anecdotes and paraphrasing. Those are the two things that you can focus on about getting better about speaking in general. An anecdote, if you don't know, is basically a short story, um, and sometimes they're funny. Usually they're funny, but you don't have to be funny. But basically, what you're trying to tell, you're trying to give a idea of a story, right? It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. So if you know how to tell a story, an anecdotal story, very short, then you know what's the most important parts that you need to be able to communicate to the listener, and you guide them through your story. So learning how to do anecdotes, even in your own language, right? You can start learning how to build a story. And once you be able to build this story, it makes it so much easier. Then you understand what is the most important parts that the listener needs to know. Okay. So if we're going to look at this, we have 4 topics right here, right? Let me just go ahead and close um, this real quick. Okay, so everybody can see. All right, so we have these 4 topics, right? We're talking about advertising. Which one influences you, right? Your everyday everything app. It's Grab. We value your time. What are they selling here? A live event. Yeah. 2 people playing the game to remember to do it. And this one right here, what we're doing at this time. So when you see these things, which one would be the one that would be the easiest for you to talk about? This is what it is about making this quick decision. All right. So maybe the advertisement that I saw was the football game, and I want to watch that one. So that's the most important one to me. So I'm going to talk about that. But can I talk about that for a while? Hmm. Maybe. Um, maybe it's one that I do all the time. Maybe it's something that I use all the time. Grab, right? Oh, I could talk about that for hours. So maybe this is more easy for me to discuss. A watch? Something about a watch? Oh, possibly. If you know enough about these, you'll be able to talk about that for a while. So again, the topic doesn't matter. The examiner, right? We don't care. We don't care what your answer is, or at least the subject of your answer. Right? If you want to talk about soccer, great. If you want to talk about technology, great. If you want to talk about, traveling, great. As long as it fits the criteria. Are you answering the question? Do you use the right vocabulary? Is your idea coherent? Right? And can we understand you? The pronunciation, right? But you can talk about anything. I don't care, right? As long as it answers those questions. Okay. So if we look at this again, what can we talk about with words that we can use? What makes these persuasive? Or what about these advertisements make them persuasive? Right? Anything? No? All right. Well, what we're looking at are basically what you're looking at are um, some adjectives and some pronouns that we can go over, right? And imagery. Why is it persuasive? The phrasing that they use, right? They have using good phrasing or good catchphrases. Right? Another one is pictures. I'm able to see what they're talking about, right? Let me just check something real quick. All right. So we'll go. This isn't. We'll go more into some other things that might be a little bit more fun for everybody here that you really need to interest in. So what you're here for really is how to plan your speech, right? That's why you're here. So the way that we're able to plan our speech is to find out what the main point of this question is. So if we're looking at this question, the main point is for me to talk about a persuasive advertisement. That is the only thing that I need to really talk about. Okay. So that is the main point. So if that's my main point, then I have to be clear with my introduction. Yeah, great. So when you're clear with your introduction, then you don't have to be confused by anything else. Today, I want to talk to you about an advertisement that I found very persuasive. Okay, great. It's good introduction, basic introduction, maybe five. All right. What you need to do is you need to learn how to paraphrase. Right? And that's how we're going to do your introduction. We're going to paraphrase them a little bit better. Okay. The other part is not to give information that is not obvious, right? Sorry, give information that is not obvious, right? That's what makes it interesting for people, right? You want to be able to talk about these things. You want to be able to show that you know some vocabulary. It's your topic, right? It's what you're excited about talking about. So give some great information. Give things that are not obvious. You know, for example, let's just talk about like, my home, right? Oh, my home, blah blah blah. I have like three houses. I have like three rooms. There's a there's a bathroom, blah blah blah. That's fine. But what about I told you about something a little bit more interesting, right? My room is my sanctuary. I'm able to build and cry and do all these things, right? You want to be able to give information that is not obvious. Okay. Strategy number one. This is what you want to know, right? The first one is to mind map. Now, mind mapping is time consuming. All right. You need to figure out what is the most important things or what are the questions that you're even going to use for the mind map, right? So you have to draw the question and you got to draw all these little things to figure out where does it go, right? This is a good way for you to practice and being able to get to what you need to do. But ultimately, it's all about something very simple. 5W1H. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. That's it. That's your mind map. All right. So if we take a look at this, right? If I'm going to describe this, when and where, okay? When, done. Where, done. Okay, what, okay, done. Right? And another what, done. So what are we missing? We're still missing who, and we're missing how. We're missing the topic, right? The topic is basically your paraphrase. Okay? So when we're paraphrasing, oh, you guys don't get to see. Oh, yeah, I do. All right. So you get to see the paraphrase, right? So ultimately, the way that you can strategize is to be able to always put down these five ideas, the five W's, and the one H. This is the simplest way for you to strategize how to talk about certain things. The problem with mind map is what comes first. Can anybody tell me what comes first? So basically, of course, your topic comes first. We need to know what you want to talk about. Clear introduction, right? That's your big thing. Okay. Now, then what do you talk about? Well, it depends on your topic, right? For most people, what you want to do is you want to talk about what it was and when, right? That's usually how you want to start, is what and when. Oh, when's on here twice. Who, what, where, when, why. We forgot why. Whoopsie. Okay, so so we're missing why. Okay, why is always added to everything. Anyways, That is your basic number one strategy. Okay. Number two strategy is the anecdote. This is something that we were just talking about, right? So, what is an anecdote? We've gone over it briefly, and it means to tell a story, right? We want to tell a quick story. And how do we do that? Is we want to tell people what we're going to talk about. So if you're thinking about a conversation between you and a friend, and they ask you, "Oh, what are you up to lately? What have you been doing?" Okay? You want to tell them a little bit more, right? "Oh, it's been really interesting. And I want to tell you exactly what I've been doing for the past 2 weeks. I've actually been give them. I've been actually really busy being able to do. I build a robot, right? So, oh my God, tell me all about it. How long does it take you? Where do you do it? What made you want to do it? Blah, blah, blah. So you tell a story, right? So I actually watched a YouTube video about this guy who built this huge robot that actually put down Legos. And so like humans didn't have to do it. And so when I started building it, I couldn't get it to work because I don't know how to actually do it. So I had to watch more YouTube videos and then more and then blah blah blah. And you just tell this story, right? Build your story from past to present to future, right? And that's also one more topic that we're going to get into. And this is your planning, right? But now we're going to talk about what do we do after the planning? We actually have to talk, right? So when you get your topic, you need to find out, do you want to do a mind map to be able to think about everything? Or do you know a quick story that you're able to tell everybody about, right? So this speaking structure is number one, and it goes kind of with anecdotal, right? It's called PPF. PPF stands for past, present, future, right? Very simple. So this is basically a very simple way for you to remember how to tell a story. Personally, this one is much more difficult, right? You want to be doing this when you are maybe already at a higher level, maybe around, I don't know, 6.57 possibly. Because when you're at that level, then it's a little bit easier for you to tell a story, right? It's easier for you to understand what you're supposed to do. Um, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to read a answer, and you guys can understand a little bit more about the past, present, future. All right. So describe an advertisement you found very persuasive. Well, we have been bombarded with an array of advertisements every day. Um, One of the most frequent pieces of advertisement I have encountered, past tense, was just a few days ago, past tense. Right? Now we're going to talk about present. Right? As a fan of Facebook, I scroll down, present perfect, present tense, and I use it practically every 30 minutes because I am addicted. Right? There are better things that I can do, but I just can't help myself. We're talking about the present still. Now let's move to the forward, to the future. All right. Um, this the event that I'm interested about is happening in the next 2 weeks. I will go and attend with and watch some brilliant and world-class speakers. I will definitely be there to enjoy and explore many many potential things in this rising industry. So we could see that he also did a conclusion with his future, but ultimately what we're looking for is just past, present, future. So if I was going to talk about this, right, let me move myself out of the way real quick. If I was going to talk about this, right, we should say what? Which ones are past tense? Found, right? Past tense. So I'm going to talk about found? What did I find? Right? What was advertised? Past. Right? What the contents of the advertisement were? Boom. Okay, were. So that's all past tense. So I can put all those three things in the past. Right? Then talk about what happened. So after I saw all of these things, how was I persuaded? Or how am I persuaded at this current time? All right? Oops. And then finally, talk about the future. What am I going to do with this new information? How have I been persuaded? What am I going to do? Right? And then finally, conclusion. That was the topic. That was the advertisement, and that's why I was persuaded. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and move me back down. I'll move over here. Well, no, I'll stay over here. Let's put me here for now. Okay. Let's move on to the next speaking structure for you. All right. This one is one of my favorites because it's really simple. Where should I go? I'll just go right here. Okay. All right. This one is called ABCBC. Super simple to remember, right? ABCBC. Done. Okay. So, why is this structure one of my favorites? Why? Well, the reason I'm going to tell you that this was one of my favorites is because this is basically how you write, and this is basically how you can get a good score about part one or part two for your writing. You give a very solid introduction. Today I'm going to talk to you about blah, blah, blah. We're going to try a different introduction, of course, but that's basically where we're at there. Okay. Your first A, oh sorry, your first B will be your point one, and any of these prompts can be your point one. Okay. Usually, like we were just discussing, the most important things to talk about first are the past, or who, or what, depending on this, right? Depending on the topic. So, what is the most important thing that we discussed? What do you need to answer? The advertisement that we found. Correct. So we need to find this advertisement. So once you find this advertisement, then we can talk about what. Oh, okay, great. And it's about me. So I have the who. So what and who is the first thing that I talk about? Okay, that is right here. And I'll give an example on why that is persuasive, or why it was an advertisement, or where did I find it, or how did I. So these are ways that we're able to talk about different things. So you find a point and you give an example. You find a point, give an example, and you find a point, give an example, find a point, give an example. And you can continue to do this. And this is great for something you don't know how to talk a lot about. This can be your who, and talk about the who, and who else, and who was there, and who told you about it, and who saw it with you. Okay. Number two is what. What did they talk about? What was interesting about it? What are you going to do about it? What will you what is the color of it? Next thing is like the how, right? How much is it? How many are there? How will you get it? How will it be delivered to you? Right? An example, example, example. You can keep going and going and going, and this is going to be about anything and something you might not even know anything about, right? So if anybody's there, you can go ahead and give me a topic and I can show you how you can structure these. Right, but while I wait for those, let's go ahead and move on. Um, just for a little bit, we're going to basically be wrapping up here. So here's a couple things for you to take away that you should just know about. And again, this video will be on demand. The people who are here that I've seen that said going, we're going to be able to get this PDF so you can go ahead and read this at your own pace as well. Okay, so, but where, right? So what I meant by this, but where is, where's the bear? Is where do we put my opinion? Right? Where do we talk about how I feel, or how was it affecting me? Do you put in the beginning and the intro, the body, or the end? Well, the intro is there for you to make sure that you understand that you're being coherent, right? You're telling the listener, you're telling the examiner what you're going to talk about and how it relates to the question. Right? Make sure that that's right. Okay? Make sure the order makes sense. That's what we discussed, right? We want to make sure that everything makes sense. We're not confused by what is there and what's next, right? And finally, you want to guide the reader. All right? The reader is well, not the reader here. It's actually the listener. So sorry about that. So you want to guide the listener. Right? So this is good for writing, but you want to guide the listener. We want to tell them kind of the overview of what's going on. All right. Then your body is to expand on your opinion. So in your intro, you actually give your opinion. My the advertisement that was the most influential on me, or the most persuasive, or etc. etc. That is your intro. That is your opinion, right? It's your opinion. Your body, what we discussed before, right? This is where you give your point. This is where you give your example, your point, your example. Right? You can use PPF, but it is a little bit more difficult to give your examples, but you can, right? It is there for you as an option, right? I wanted to give you two because some people have specific ways that they like to talk. Not everything is the same, right? And to continue in a logical order, right? B, C, B, C, B, C, or past, present, future. We usually talk in that order. We don't always say, in the future I'm going to do this, and then you talk about how you get there. That's a possibility, but it's not the easiest, especially when you're learning. So if you are, trying to get an 8.5 and you're only getting 5.5, you need to simplify your answers. Okay, here are some introductions for you, right, to make sure they're clear. Personally, right, that's your opinion. For me, opinion. I think, I believe that, right, that. My favorite is, my favorite was, right, if you're doing past, present is. And the example, right, this is your opinion. My favorite thing is, my favorite thing is, or my favorite vegetable is eggplant, right? That's my opinion, and I gave an example, right? Okay, and it's clear, it's concise. So let's go ahead and start wrapping up here. Um, we didn't go through some of this, but here are some vocab for you in if you're going to be able to use it in a different way. Let me move myself out of the way again. All right, there we go. So just so you have them, we didn't really go over them too much, but you're more than welcome to use them in the future. Be bombarded with. This means that you are to have too much information, too many questions, too many things being asked of you, right? Um, so, like if your boss is telling you to do 20 different things, you can just say, I'm very bombarded with these things. Um, PIQU. It's a funny word how it's written, but it's actually peak, like PEAK, right? To pique someone's interest, right? This means to get to think about, to be like go like, oh, that's interesting, right? Right. So when we're talking about advertisements, why was it interesting to you, right? Oh, it piqued my interest because of when we talked about adverbs and adverbs and adjectives. It piqued my interest because of the imagery. It piqued my interest because of the colors or the phrasing, right? So or the tagline. Pay a visit to. This is just something that you can use in passing. I'm going to pay a visit to the doctor. I'm going to pay a visit to my mother. Right? These are things that you're going to be doing. Um, to be savvy, that should be in black, sorry. It means to be well informed about something, right? So if I'm tech savvy, I'm well informed about tech or technology. If I am if I'm like word savvy, it means that I'm very good with words or the all those types of things. So you can kind of use this with a lot of different things. Make sure that you kind of learn about them before you just make up a word. But this is pretty much you can use for almost anything. Food for thought. This is what I'm hoping to leave you with is some ideas and something for you to think about. Um, Food for thought just means like brain food, so things to make your brain think, right? To think about. And finally, vibe means how you feel. I always try and keep a positive vibe. Sometimes it doesn't always happen, but that's what I try to do. All right. Okay. Um, there are more strategies These two that I gave you, or four technically, are not the only ones out there. There are hundreds, of dozens of different strategies, right? So if one of these or both of these didn't really work for you, there's more, and you can learn about them on our at our classes. We're always starting them. We also are on Facebook that you can see right now. We have a TikTok channel that we're going to be able to start seeing some quick and interesting educational information for you. So follow us over there at Danny English Center. And we do have a YouTube IELTS Test Prep. HQ has a YouTube channel that we've partnered with, and they always give information, and they're going to be able to help you with any specifics that you need as well. To wrap this up, here are some of our star students. I'm not one of them, sorry. But we have some really awesome students. Smartest, the greatest Taylor, 8.0. Dan, who got 8.0. Chow and Anya, 7.5. And these are overall scores. So we really take pride in getting you guys to where you want to be. So I know that there's not a lot of you watching right now, but if you end up watching this at a later time, please know that we try our hardest to make you achieve your goals, and we want you to be great. Okay? We want you to be the greatest, the coolest, the sweetest, and the smartest ones out there. And finally, here are some of our teachers. Indy, Swan, and Twee. These are some of our star teachers that are here for you. I am also one of them, but they really are the best ones. They're the ones that really take the time out of their day to really sit in and teach you. So if you see anybody that you like that you want to learn with, they are opening up new classes and they would love to have you be a part of them. Okay. We also have a bunch of other teachers, and you'll be able to see them actually on our TikToks. They're going to be doing a few of those for you, and you'll be able to actually see them on our Facebook channel as well. Okay. Just to wrap it up, these are just some of, I keep getting in the way of everything. Um, these are some of the projects that we have, sorry, some of the classes that we have. If you want a 6.0, we do have ones that are lower. So 4.5, if you're just beginning, we have those. Um, but if you are looking for high level output, 6.0, 7.0. If you have a test that's coming up in a month, uh, talk to us. We will set up a specific test prep for you, focused on the goals that you set for yourself, and we will help you try and reach those if possible. Uh, yes, there is an 8. Um, but if you we can help you with that. That's 7.0 plus. But usually with our personal tutor, we can go ahead and get you an 8.0. Min, you are actually a 9.0. Just letting you know. So we have personal tutors. But ultimately, the last one here is um, speaking and writing revision. We have a on-demand and speaking revision done by our IELTS experts. We do charge for this, but um, anytime, anywhere, basically you can test yourself. We can we can grade them, and it's actually done by us, not by a computer. It's not done by some AI. It's actually done by humans, to give you real feedback and give you real help, to get to where you need to be. I will send these in the chat for you, and you guys will be able to reach them at any time. We also have a free placement test that you can do at any point in time as well. So at the end of here, I will send those in the links. And finally, that's it. Here is the contact information. Feel free to text us directly. You can text us on Zalo. You can check us out on uh, TikTok. You can see us. You're already on Facebook, so there's there. Email us. do anything that you want to get a hold of us. We're really excited to hear from you. Thank you so much for coming here. Um, I don't know what else to tell, but except for that, we're going to be continuing to do these each week. So feel free to go ahead and join us. We will have Vietnamese teachers on some of them as well. And if you have, and I'm sending you guys two quick links that you can use if you ever want to be able to get on-demand listening. I'm sorry, on-demand speaking or on-demand writing feedback. All right. So that's it. Thank you so much, everybody. Min, there's prices if you want them. We will go ahead and get those for you. Give them for your son. I know that he needs it. Any other questions? No, it looks pretty good. Trisha, thank you so much for swinging by. I see a couple other names, Vin, Anya. Really appreciate your time and effort here. This video will be on for everybody at a different time. But until then, I hope that you guys have a great evening, and we will see you next week. Bye bye.